Welcome to the Called to Love podcast, a show dedicated to exploring how human relationships and intimacy with God are connected. Join us as we discuss hard-hitting topics that inspire and motivate you to go deeper into the intricacies of building meaningful relationships. Here now are your hosts, James Levesey and Brian Canadle.
Bubba Love, what's been on your mind lately?
Well, we're still talking about intimacy. It's not going away anytime soon. Like I was sharing with you just a little bit ago, you've heard the saying that absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's not true. It's togetherness that makes the heart grow fonder. It's absence that reminds you of the need to be together. So many times we take our approach in our relationship with the Lord because we know He's all loving, we know He's all caring, He's all patient. He can put up with anything we lay down. He's constantly forgiven us of everything. But He's endeavoring for us to pursue Him, to be in relationship and know Him. And yet we find ourselves oftentimes on this journey of trying to just keep up with the cares of our everyday living, the relationships that we're in, the responsibilities that we have, the kids that we are to take care of, and somehow or another, the Lord takes the back seat. And yet every morning He's leaning over us, anticipating that we're somehow going to make time for Him today. He's looking forward to walking our day out with us. And it's something that we're not going to stop talking about anytime soon. We really want to make sure people understand the mindset that the Lord has for us. He's crazy about us, like a dad who can't wait to talk to his children. That is how He feels about us.
Yeah. I was reading the Song of Solomon today, and that is a love story. And that song is that chapter is about the relationship that God desires to have with us.
Yes.
I mean, it is an absolute love affair about two people that are head over heels for each other. And they don't have to think about whether or not they're going to see each other or spend time together. That's what they do. That's who they are. They're together. Jesus thought it was really important. And it said that He would go and stay out all night sometimes praying on the mountain. And it was something that He did frequently before major decisions, before He picked the disciples. He stayed out all night praying. And what do you think He was doing? Do you think He was just sitting up there just thinking? He was in an intimate relationship with His Father. And He talks about it. He said, I'm going to send you the same way I was sent. And I'm the first of many. And you're going to do just like me. And He was setting an example. He was modeling what it looked like to have this access to the Father, this unhindered access to the Father, so that you could go in His presence when you wanted to, and you could spend time with Him, and you could get your affirmation. I'm finding that most of the problems I see with people is they're not getting affirmation from the Father. They're trying to get it from humans. And humans are imperfect. They can't give you what you need. They can't possibly encourage you like you really desire.
Well, actually, what we've all fallen in a trap of doing, and that is because we know it's important to be in community with other believers, those that are on the same journey we are, those that are endeavoring to become what we've been called to be. What we often find is if the better my church is, the better the worship is at my church, the better the preaching is at my church, the better the programs are at my church for my children, for the youth, it's almost sustainable to some degree that I won't need Him during the week. I don't need to cultivate because I experienced Him so strongly and so connected with Him on Sunday. It's like it's carrying me each week. And what he's saying is, it's about me. It's not about the community. Yes, you can worship corporately, but I want you to worship me personally. I want you to spend time with me privately. Just like when you're in a relationship, the most wonderful parts about the relationship is when y'all come together, it's private, and that's how it's supposed to be. And he wants that. He wants us to pursue him and know him, like Solomon talks about in the Song of Solomon.
That's a great point. I've heard so many times. We'll be in this great, Bible study with a group of guys, and they'll say, man, I wish we could do this sooner in the week because, man, I'm about to lose it halfway through the week because we'll be meeting at the end of the week and Sunday will be right around the corner. And they will express this desire to get into this kind of fellowship and communion with each other because they get so exhausted from the everyday, working schedule and family schedule and things like that. And we just so desperately want people to know that, hey, you've got an everyday pick-me-up. You've got the greatest encourager that there is, that you have access to, that you can literally go into the presence anytime you want to. And we're going to talk a lot more about that because, it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to know, okay, what does that look like? Because the common answers we get is, well, I pray every day and I do my morning devotionals. And, that's what we're taught. That's kind of the traditional way of praying. But if you really look back at the way Jesus modeled it, it was totally different. I don't do anything unless I hear the Father say. I tell you what, let's take a look at somebody else's perspective and let's watch this clip. It's going to be great.
Let's do it.
Now I'm at a point to where it's more of a reflection of me in trusting him, right? So it's this personal relationship that I have, and so the stronger that one gets, the more we can kind of elevate our mindsets and our thinking more towards him in the mission, because a lot of stuff can be a distraction. Our mission is our families and our wives, but the first mission is God's heart, right? He wants to know us. Even over us knowing the whole Bible, you got to know who wrote it, who breathed it. That's what he's interested in. That's true intimacy. So, I just push towards that every time. Any season, it gets better. The pressing part. Because you get to a certain part where you start to outlast, you start to outgrow those things, those limited mindset, limited belief. And it improves every area of your life, marriage, your relationships, your job.
Brian, some of my fondest memories back, I guess a few years ago when we found out about the secret place and it elevated our prayer life. We were challenging each other. We were having such amazing experiences in the prayer closet time. We would sometimes call each other and say, dude, you won't believe what I heard or what happened in the prayer closet. You remember those times and how exciting they were?
Oh, yes.
And, it's become quite normal over time. Some of the excitement of like, man, I can't wait to tell Brian this. But I remember those times were the foundation of everything that was going on. All of our talks, our conversations, what we were, doing, all revolved around what God had showed us in the morning. Like if we were going to go speak somewhere, it always revolved around what God was showing us in those times. And even to this day, he continues to do that. Nothing's really changed about the way he communicates. What I'm finding interesting is there was like this period of time that we went through that it was new and exciting, and we didn't know it existed. We didn't know you could have this close of a relationship with the Father. And what he was wanting to do is he was wanting to teach us how to hear him clearly. And he was teaching us his character. He was teaching us the way he was. So it was getting easy to discern the difference between the worldly voice, the voice of the enemy, and the pulls of this world. Even through friends and close family members, that would try to, say things real loud and in your face that you shouldn't do this, you can't go there, you can't do that. But yet the Lord was over here telling us this other thing. And then he was showing us how to navigate those obstacles that was in the way. And now it's become even easier to hear those voices outside, his voice, rather, and to clearly navigate circumstances and situations even in real time. And it's been a real joy, and that's what we're talking about here.
It is. If you remember, and I remember those conversations we had, but what we were experiencing was when we went through that breakthrough in our lives where we really began to have a passion for people. It wasn't just to go, I'm going to spend time with people and I'm just going to talk to them. It wasn't like, oh my goodness, I've been isolating myself, or you and I weren't wanting to talk to anyone or see anybody at church. What was happening was when we were meeting with people, we were asking them, tell me what the Holy Spirit is speaking to you about. What's happening real time in the measured time that you are spending with the Lord. And I met with this one guy one time, and it was like, and then he told me something that happened 8 years ago. Or he told me when he first, wonderful experience. And I said, that's awesome. And he talked about it for 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, but can you tell me something that's happened in like the last 24 or 72 hours? And then he would tell me something that happened a week or 2 weeks ago. And he just kept struggling. And what I was seeing was I was sitting in front of a man that loved the Lord. And he was living off the highlights of something from yesterday. And God's wanting us to experience his presence and be able to hear him real time at that moment in the circumstance and situation that we're living. So when we're around people, people are wanting to know, what is the Lord saying to you? What's one word that he's highlighted? What's one phrase? What is something he's been challenging you in? And that's where we, but in the midst of that, it was always about expressions of love. It was always, at the same time you're going to meet with people, you're constantly going to be challenged to love them, to be patient with them, to listen, to be gentle, to be kind, not to be debatable, not to say it's all about me or I'm right and you're wrong and my experience trumps your theology, because it often does. A man of experience always outweighs a man of theory almost every time. However, our job was to simply just be present for people, just like the Lord was present for us.
Yeah. Man can't live on bread alone.
No.
But every word that proceeds from the Lord's mouth.
That's good.
And that is exactly what we want to do. I think some of the hardest things about getting into this place and this presence, the things that people tell me is, one is making the time to do it. I said this before, it seems so unproductive to go into a quiet place and just sit before the Lord and listen. And in a nutshell, as simple as I can put it, that's what you do. You go into a quiet place and you sit there. Sometimes I'll start it off by saying, look, I'm just surrendering to you, Lord. I have no preconceived idea what we're going to talk about, but I want to talk about what you want to talk about. You know me more than I do. You know my flaws. You know my strengths. You know everything about me. What is it that you want from me? And what do you want me to do right now? If you want me to read Scripture right now, I'll read Scripture.
That's good.
Whatever it is, Lord, show me, teach me, guide me. And is there anything in between us that you want to see gone? And so we're going to hear from another clip here, and I hope it blesses you.
Yes.
I'm never going to be somewhere just like, okay, that's it. It's going to be this ongoing, deepening relationship, learning how to practice his presence and be in his presence all the time, 24/7. I just don't I hate, I don't want any sin in my life. Any sin in my life. And I think my relationship with the Lord, the questions that I ask have become different. So usually I hear people say this all the time, and this was something I used to say. Hey, well, is this a sin or is this not a sin? Right? It's like, well, can I do this or can I do it? Is it a sin or is it not a sin? And like in my relationship now, that's not the question that I ask. The question I ask is this bringing me closer to Jesus or farther away from Jesus? Because all I want to do is be as close as I possibly can to Jesus.
You know, one of the reasons we're talking about this so much is because we know there's such a deficit. So we're going to talk to the people that are watching this that is wondering, you know, what are y'all really getting at? What are y'all really talking about? And what does it look like? First of all, you know, we hit on it a little bit before the clip, but going into a place of quietness with no distractions, one thing you're going to experience is you're going to experience a tremendous amount of peace. One common thing I hear from people that get along with God and just go into a quiet place is they can experience the most peace that they feel at any time throughout the day. And usually when they come out of that place, life hits them in the face and they get really irritated really fast. It's almost like it's, you know, everything you did to encounter peace and love and this place with God and just like, man, I can just be the most peaceful, kindest person ever. You walk out and then a spouse, a friend, a son, a daughter, a boss, a coworker will just slap you with something and you'll get mad because it like ran off what you had. It'll almost upset you that they ran off what you had. And so then we try to counteract that, and it's frustrating because then we feel like it's not doing any good. What's your take on that?
Well, it was the opposite for me. It was chaos starting the process. It took a little while for it to become peace. So chaos, I felt chaos and distraction when we first started dedicating, but then and then we would go out and I'd be like, I'm so glad I'm out of there, you know. Then it was like, I can't wait to get in there because that's where I found my peace. So it went from chaos and distraction to peace and a sensitivity that I didn't have before, which prepared me for the crazy things at work or whatever. So it's a big deal. It's our heart is for someone to try it just once. Just once. I know your spouse will freak out and go, where are you going? What are you doing? What are you doing in the closet? And you're like, you know what? I'm going to do something I should have done a long time ago. I'm going to spend time with the lover of my soul, the one that rescued, redeemed me, saved me, and I'm going to honor a few minutes of my time with him. And I'll get back with you.
Yeah.
So
something I found always works is say, I'm going to go spend time with my other spouse.
That's good.
Maybe you shouldn't say
no,
that.
Don't.
Hey, but until next time, we'll talk more about this later.
That's good.
We hope this episode of the Called to Love podcast has enriched your life and offered valuable principles to apply on your personal journey. Please explore our website at www.calledto.love for more information and to share your feedback with us. Until our next episode, may you find peace and love. And always remember, you are called to love.